Hello friends, I am Darshana Patel working as an assistant professor at VS Patel College of Arts and Science BCA BBA course. I am over here to teach operating system. This is fourth video of my lecture series, and so if you have not watched previous videos, then I request you to watch previous videos of my lecture series. Today I am going to discuss priority scheduling algorithm, round robin scheduling algorithm, multi-level queue scheduling algorithm, and feedback queue scheduling algorithm. So let's not waste time and start with priority scheduling algorithm. Priority scheduling algorithm. Priority scheduling is a method of scheduling processes that is based on priority. That means each process is assigned a priority and the scheduler selects the process that has highest priority. So, the process with higher priority are executed first, whereas the processes with low priority have to wait till all the higher priority processes have completed their execution. Now, when two or more processes have equal priority, that is, they have same priority, then in this case, the tie is broken by selecting the process on the basis of first come first serve scheduling algorithm. The priority depends upon the criteria such as memory requirement, that means how much memory is required for each of the process. Second, time requirement, the amount of time each process needs to complete its execution. Third, the number of open files. And fourth, the ratio of IO burst to CPU burst, etc. So depending upon this criteria, the priorities may be decided. There are basically two types of priority scheduling algorithm: preemptive priority scheduling and non-preemptive priority scheduling. So, the priority scheduling algorithms are of two types: preemptive priority scheduling and non-preemptive priority scheduling. So, what is preemptive priority scheduling? In preemptive priority scheduling, if a new process arrives at the ready queue and has higher priority than the process that is currently running, in this case, the CPU is preempted, which means the processing of the current process is stopped and the new process with higher priority gets the CPU for its execution. Next, non-preemptive priority scheduling. In case of non-preemptive priority scheduling algorithm, if a new process arrives that has higher priority than the process that is currently running, in this case, the incoming process, that is the new process with higher priority, is put in the ready queue, and only after the current process completes its execution, the new process will be allocated the CPU. Advantages of priority scheduling algorithm. First, high priority process does not need to wait for long because priority scheduling is based on priority of the process. Second, simple to understand. Third, it is easy to use. Fourth, it is user friendly algorithm. Now, since we apply this algorithm in our daily life, say for example, we have to perform many tasks. When we have to perform many tasks, we select the task that is most important for us, and thus priority scheduling algorithm is simple, easy, and user friendly algorithm to us. Advantages of priority scheduling algorithm. First, the chances of starvation for lower priority process. This means that the priority scheduling algorithm may leave some lower priority process waiting infinitely. Thus, there are chances of starvation for lower priority process. Second, another problem with priority scheduling is deciding the priority of each process. That is, how will the decision be made that the process should be assigned higher priority or must be assigned lower priority? Third, in case if we have the processes which have same priority, then we have to make use of second scheduling algorithm. That is, we have to use first come first serve scheduling algorithm to solve the tie. Next, fourth, if the system crashes, then all the processes having lower priority which are not finished yet will be lost. Now, let us understand priority scheduling algorithm using example. Now, suppose there are three processes P1, P2 and P3 all arrive at same time, that is time equal to 0, and the burst time, that is the time required to complete the execution, is given in the table below. Also, priority for each process is given. Now, here the smaller number indicates high priority, that is 1 means high priority and 10 means low priority. Now, let us draw the Gantt chart for our example. It is shown in figure below. So, in our example, P2 has highest priority, that is 1, and so the execution of P2 begins at time t equal to 0. Now P2 needs 4 seconds, and so P2 will execute till 4 seconds and will exit. Now among the process P1 and P3, the highest priority is of P1, that is 2, and so the execution of P1 starts at 4 seconds. Now P1 needs 8 seconds, so 4 plus 8, that is 12 seconds. So P1 completes its execution at 12 seconds, and then the execution of P3 begins. P3 needs 1 second and it started at 12 seconds, so 12 plus 1, that is 13, and so the execution of P3 will end at 13 seconds. This is shown in the Gantt chart drawn below. Now let us calculate turnaround time and waiting time for each process. The formula to calculate turnaround time is turnaround time equal to completion time minus arrival time. So let us calculate turnaround time for process P1. The completion time for process P1 is 12 and arrival time is 0. So 12 minus 0 is equal to 12. So the turnaround time for P1 is 12. In the same way, the completion time for P2 is 4 and the arrival time for P2 is 0. So 4 minus 0 is equal to 4. So the turnaround time for P2 is 4. Similarly, the completion time for process P3 is 13 and the arrival time for process P3 is 0. So 13 minus 0 is equal to 13. So the turnaround time for P3 is 13. Now let us calculate average turnaround time. So average turnaround time is equal to 12 plus 4 plus 13 divided by 3. That is equal to 29 divided by 3, that is 9.66. Now let us calculate waiting time. The formula to calculate waiting time is waiting time equal to turnaround time minus burst time. Round robin scheduling algorithm. The round robin scheduling algorithm is designed specially for time sharing system. It is similar to first come first serve scheduling, but preemption is added to switch between the process. The ready queue is treated as a circular queue. Thus, round robin scheduling is preemptive scheduling algorithm in which every process gets executed in a circular way. That is, CPU is assigned to all the process present in the ready queue on the first come first basis, but for a fixed amount of time. This fixed amount of time is called quantum time or time slice. The quantum time is generally between 10 to 100 milliseconds. To implement round-robin scheduling algorithm, we need the ready queue as a first in first out queue for processing. The new processes are added to the tail of the ready queue, and the process from the head of the ready queue are selected for execution. The CPU scheduler picks the first process from the head of the ready queue and sets time or interrupt after 2 milliseconds of quantum time. The process that have CPU burst of less than 2 quantum time, in that case, the process itself will release CPU voluntarily, and the scheduler will then proceed to next process in the ready queue. However, if the quantum time of currently running process is longer than 2 milliseconds of quantum time, in that case the timer will go off, and this will cause an interrupt to the operating system, and context switching will be executed, and the currently running process will be suspended and will be placed in the tail of the ready queue, and CPU scheduler will select next process from the head of the ready queue. In round robin scheduling algorithm, context switching is used to save the states of preempted process so that when the process is again assigned CPU for execution, then the execution can resume from the same point where it had been suspended. Now let us look at the advantages and disadvantages of round robin scheduling algorithm. Advantages. First, all the jobs get fair allocation of CPU. This means that each process is assigned an equal share of CPU time, which is also known as quantum time. Second, there is no problem of starvation. Since each process is allocated CPU for a fixed amount of time, and so CPU is equally allocated among all the processes. Third, if you know the total number of processes in the ready queue, then you can calculate the response time for a particular process. Disadvantages. First, the performance of round robin algorithm depends heavily upon quantum time. Second, deciding a perfect quantum time for scheduling is very difficult, because if the quantum time is lower, then there is higher context switching overhead. On the other hand, if the quantum time is higher, then it will be similar to first come first serve algorithm. So a perfect quantum time needs to be decided, and this decision is very complicated. And the last, round robin scheduling does not give any special priority to the task that may be important. Now let us understand round robin scheduling algorithm using example. So now suppose there are three processes P1, P2 and P3 all arrive at same time, that is time equal to 0, and the burst time for each of the process is given in the table below. Also the quantum time is 3. That means each process will be given 3 quantum time 3 for execution. After quantum time 3 gets over, the scheduler will select another process for execution. Now let us draw Gantt chart for round robin scheduling algorithm. In our example, all three processes arrive at same time, but arrival sequence is given, and P3 is first one to arrive. So the execution of P3 begins, and it is allocated quantum time of 3 seconds, but its execution gets completed in 1 second because the burst time of P3 is 1 second. and so P3 exits at 1 second. Now the process P1 is selected for execution because in arrival sequence P1 arrives after P3 and so P1 is given 3 seconds. P1 needs 8 seconds because the burst time of P1 is 8, but quantum time of 3 seconds is allocated to P1. So the execution of P1 preempts after 3 seconds and P2 is selected. P2 is also given 3 seconds and so the execution of P2 begins, and after quantum time of 3 seconds expires, P2 is preempted. Now remember, P3 is no more in the ready queue because its execution is completed. So now we have only two processes, P1 and P2. So CPU selects P1 and P1 will again execute for 3 seconds, that is the quantum time is 3 seconds, and after the quantum time of 3 seconds expires, P2 will be selected for execution. Now the burst time for P2 is 4 and P2 has already executed for 3 seconds. So now P2 will execute for 1 second and it will exit. Now P1 will resume its execution. The burst time for P1 is 8 seconds. But P1 had first executed for 3 seconds, then again it had second chance and it executed for another 3 seconds. So in total P1 had executed for 6 seconds. So now it only needs 2 seconds for completing its execution. So P1 will execute for 2 seconds and after 2 seconds P1 terminates. This is clearly shown in the Gantt chart below. That is, P3 executes for 1 second, then P1 executes for 3 seconds, then P2 executes for 3 seconds, then again P1 executes for 3 seconds, then again P2 executes for 1 second, and in the end P1 executes for 2 seconds. And in all, 13 seconds are taken by all the three processes P1, P2 and P3 for completing their execution. Let us calculate turnaround time. The formula to calculate turnaround time is same, that is completion time minus arrival time. So let us calculate turnaround time for all three processes. So process P1, the completion time is 13 and the arrival time is 0. So 13 minus 0, that is 13. So turnaround time for P1 is 13. The completion time for P2 is 11 and the arrival time for P2 is 0. So 11 minus 0 is equal to 11. So the turnaround time for P2 is 11 and the turnaround time for P3 is 1. Now let us calculate total turnaround time. Total turnaround time is equal to 13 plus 11 plus 1 divided by 3, that is 25 divided by 3, that is 8.33. Now let us calculate waiting time. The formula for calculating waiting time is turnaround time minus burst time. So the waiting time for P1 is 5, that is turnaround time for P1 is 13 minus the burst time for P1 is 8. So 13 minus 8 is equal to 5. The turnaround time for P2 is 11 and the burst time for P2 is 4. So 11 minus 4 is equal to 7. So the waiting time for P2 is 7. Similarly, the turnaround time for P3 is 1 and the burst time for P3 is 1. So 1 minus 1 is 0. So waiting time for P3 is 0. The average waiting time is equal to 5 plus 7 plus 0 divided by 3. That is 12 divided by 3 is 4. So the average waiting time is 4. Level queue scheduling. Multi-level queue scheduling algorithm is designed for the situations in which processes can be easily classified into different groups. In general, processes are commonly divided into foreground process, also known as interactive process, and background process, also known as batch process. These two types of process have different response time requirements, and so they may have different scheduling needs. In addition, foreground processes may have priority over background process. That means processes from foreground process queue will be executed first, and the processes from background process queues will be executed later on. A multi-level queue scheduling algorithm partitions the ready queue into several different queues as shown in the diagram. The processes are permanently assigned to one of these queue based on the properties of the process, such as memory size requirement, process priority, process type, etc. Each queue has its own priority, and also each queue has its own scheduling algorithm. For example, the foreground queue might be scheduled based on round robin algorithm, whereas the background queue is scheduled on the basis of first come first serve scheduling algorithm. In addition, there must be scheduling among the queues. That is, the higher priority queue will be executed first, and the lower priority queue will have to wait until the higher priority queues are empty. For example, the foreground queues may have absolute priority over the background queues. So, until there are processes in foreground queues, the process from background queues cannot be selected for execution. Now, let us understand this taking an example. So, suppose a multi-level queue scheduling algorithm has 5 queues: system processing queue, interactive process queue, interactive editing process queue, batch process queue, and student process queue. Now the system process queue has the highest priority, and the student process queue have lowest priority. So what will happen? Each queue has absolute priority over the lower queue. That means when there are processes in the higher priority queue, then the processes from the lower priority queue cannot be executed. Now the process from lower priority queue can execute only after the higher priority queue is empty. For example, no process in batch queue could run unless the queues for system process, interactive process, and interactive editing process becomes empty. In an interactive editing if an interactive editing process enters the ready queue while the batch process was running, then the batch process will be preempted because the priority of interactive process is higher than that of the batch process. Level feedback queue scheduling. In multi-level feedback queue scheduling algorithm, a process is allowed to move between the queues. That means a process can move from first queue to second queue and second queue to third queue back to first queue. Now the idea of multi-level feedback queue scheduling algorithm is to separate the process based on burst time. That is, if a process uses too much of CPU time, it will be moved to the lower priority queue. So this algorithm leaves IO bound and interactive bound processes in a higher priority queue, whereas batch processes in a lower priority queue. In addition, if a process has to wait too long in the lower priority queue, then it will be moved back to the higher priority queue. Now, this multi-level feedback queue scheduler is defined by the following parameters, that is, the number of queues it needs to maintain, the scheduling algorithms for each of these queues, the methods used to determine when to upgrade a process to the higher priority queue. Also, the method used to determine when to demote a process to a lower priority queue. That means it needs to determine when a process is moved from lower priority to higher priority queue, or when a process should be moved from higher priority to lower priority queue. The methods used to determine which queue a process will enter when the process needs service. Let us understand multi-level feedback queue scheduling using an example. Suppose there are three queues, Q1, Q2 and Q3. Q1 and Q2 follows round robin algorithm, and the quantum time for Q1 is 8 and the quantum time for Q2 is 16, and the third queue follows first come first serve scheduling algorithm. Now the queue first has highest priority, whereas third queue has the lowest priority. Now when a new process arrives and enters the ready queue, it is put in Q1. A process in Q1 is given a time quantum of 8 milliseconds. So if the process does not finish its execution within 8 milliseconds, then it will be moved to the tail of the Q2. However, if the process is smaller than 8 milliseconds, then its execution completes. So it does not need to go to queue number 2. Now, if Q1 is empty, then the process from the head of the Q2 is selected and is given quantum of 16 milliseconds. Now, if the process completes within 16 milliseconds, then the process exits the system. However, if it does not complete within this 16 milliseconds, then it will be preempted and will be put to the tail of the Q3. Now the process in Q3 can execute, the process in Q3 runs on first come first serve basis, but it can only execute if Q1 and Q2 both are empty. Now, if a process from Q3 is executing and a new process arrives and is put in Q1, then the process executing from Q3 is suspended and the process from Q1 starts execution. Now, the process in Q3 may have to wait infinitely if process keeps on coming. So now, in order to prevent the starvation of the processes that exist in Q3, they will need to be moved to Q1. Now they are moved to Q1 but on the basis of aging. The aging is calculated, and if the waiting time of process in Q3 exceeds the aging, then it will be moved to Q1.